We are back, and we are late for the first time tonight. We are so close. You have reached the sound off. This is the Society Sound Off, the No Name Cinema Society. That's us. And we talk about movies. That's what we do. I'll introduce you to my co-host in a second. But first, I'm just going to explain to you a little bit what the Sound Off is. Basically, it's a freeform segment. We discuss individual movies over the course of the evening. At the end, sort of summarize it all, and we have I do a top 5. I make some announcements. We discuss things going on in the world of movies and so forth. I don't like this hair sort of sticking out here. Fix that. So that's what the Sound Off is. So now you got a sense of that. Let me give you a sense of our evening schedule. This is our 21st Sound Off, incidentally. So that's kind of fun. We started doing it episode 16. And Happy New Year to you all as well. So let's pull up our evening schedule. It's behind me, but I'm going to pull it up full screen for you momentarily with a little help from my friends. So this is the cue. Go.
Yeah. Hang
Go.
on. Keep talking.
My friends are not doing well this evening.
No, I'm not sure exactly why you need a nightly schedule at this point, considering we're at the end of the schedule. But okay,
all right. Anyway, yeah, it's true. It's the end of the night. So these are pre-existing videos. If you're interested, this is the things that we talked about tonight. Started out the night talking about Rogue One. And the Star Wars movie. Then we talked about Jason Reitman's film Young Adult was our indie spotlight. We've been doing 2011 films this year. And then we celebrated the 75th anniversary of Citizen Kane with a pretty intense, interesting discussion there within. And that's what happens. And now is our Sound Off time, where I've got a top 5. Davie and I are going to have a Twitter battle, or rehash our Twitter battle. And then I have some announcements to make. And we're already behind. Well, I guess we started behind. So that's only standard reason. So I should introduce my co-host, and let's start with the said Twitter villain, Davie Joe.
I don't think I'm the villain, man.
Happy New Year, Davie.
Happy New Year.
J Money, Davie is the villain, and how are you, sir?
Davie's the villain. I don't know why this is up for grabs.
Yeah.
Obviously, look at him. He's evil. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. At least you didn't drop more F-bombs. Hey, why don't we start with my top 5 for once? We'll do that first, so it'll give us a little more time for our Twitter battle.
Okay.
What's that?
Nothing.
Am I going too fast for you in these photos? Is that what's happening?
Here you go.
There it is. There it is. A nice title slide. It's interesting what you chose here for, the Unlikable Heroes thing. But
I do feel like he is a quintessential unlikable hero in our modern time.
Well, I mean, I really struggle with this top 5, and I talked to you a little bit about it separately. This is inspired by our discussion of the film Young Adult, where she is truly, a very vile character. But this is a character is really hard to define. I actually wound up making 2 lists. And I don't expect to go through them both. And I discussed this with J Money, and he was saying list 1, but I'm prepared to do both lists. So I want to explain each, and then have you guys decide which list I should present, or maybe convince me. So I have the first list is characters that are vile, but still have, like, they do very bad things, but they still have charm, charisma, or are sympathy. And that was my initial instinct to do that, but I mean, like, they really truly aren't, like, we still root for them, and I think that's true of Michael Corleone as well. So that was my initial instinct, but then I got frustrated with that because I'm not sure that was in the true spirit of what the top 5 was meant to be. So I made a second list of characters that are protagonists, but true anti-heroes, like almost entirely dislikable, not very redeeming in a lot of ways, possibly more similar to Mavis in Young Adult. There's only one film that managed to make both lists. And I mean, like, right now I'm thinking maybe the second list is the more appropriate one, but I wanted to see where you guys see, because J Money, when we went to see Rogue One, said the first list. Davie, do you have any thoughts?
So
here's you with us?
Yeah. Here's what I'd say. Rather than pick the better list as far as what you think is more true to the spirit of things, pick the one with the movies you like better.
Why do you say that?
I just want to hear you talk about the movies you like more.
But I mean, isn't it theory if I like these movies more that they're more likely to make other lists? Like the second list might be more obscure.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. All right, fine. Pick the one that you don't like.
No, look, I'm not dictating. I'm just sort of.
I see what you're saying. I think that pick the one with the movies you like better because you'll have more to say.
Do I get the impression that you don't care one way or the other?
Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna argue with you there. No, I feel like I'm gonna enjoy them both so much that it doesn't.
I call BS on that. I don't understand why you can't, have a little more. Like I work hard in these top fives. Why you can't?
I know you do, and that's why I want you to talk about the one you like better. Whichever list you think is a better list.
J Money, did I convince you that maybe the second list is better? Or are you still feeling this first list?
I still feel the first list, but I feel like Davie Joe maybe belongs in either one. So take your pick. Which one is Davie Joe most like in this situation?
What? Say that last sentence again.
Which one is Davie Joe most like in this situation? Is Davie Joe an awful person that you kind of like, or is Davie Joe a protagonist that has flaws? Take your pick.
Oh God, it's tough. I wish is there audience members that can text me in 30 seconds or tweet me or something and let me know because I'm sort of torn.
Call out in person what they think. It's fine.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go with the second list, which is people that are kind of vile. And so I'm gonna start with number 5 here, and it's actually one of our 1966 films. And J Money, you're really gonna be on your toes here for this one, as I get a super close up of you as you look through photos. Hawaii. Which is one of our 1966 films that I had to rewatch recently. And we screened in New York in 2011. And it was a fascinating screening. And mostly, it's been on a top 5 before. I believe it was on a top 5. We did a top 5 Trumbo list back about a year ago, actually, last January. And it was on that list. I rewatched on October 4th. The biggest drawback for the screening that we did in 2011 was how unlikable the protagonist was, Max von Sydow as Abner Hale. Now it's interesting. It's interesting because almost all the points that he makes are valid, arguing against incest and human sacrifice and other savage practices of ancient Polynesian life. But the way he does so is so frustrating and hateful. If there's another photo there, is there a photo of Sydow anywhere in there? He's a very pious with the way he does it. He's a Calvinist missionary, and he's very he yells at these people without compassion or understanding the way he preaches. Actually, unlike the audience of my screening, I thought it was a fascinating choice that sort of represented our superior American way of being judgmental of other cultures, in a movie that's largely about colonialism. And I think it's a terrific performance by Sydow in that regard. A difficult balancing act and very thorough. There's a picture there of Sydow. He's sort of in the middle of the frame there. And of course, this movie also has Julie Andrews. You guys, I know, have not seen this movie, but and J Money, you're flat out refusing to watch it, right, for our 66 in review?
Well, I don't know if I'm flat out refusing. I've heard so many negative things at this point over the last couple of years about this movie.
Except for me.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point, I guess.
Okay. And Davey, are you gonna watch any 1966 films?
I mean, we'll see. I'd like to. I'm gonna try.
We'll see.
We only have 53 days left or something like that. Well,
when you put it that way, I mean, I gotta watch 10 films a day for the next 53 days.
I mean, like, I need to. I did some math. I need to watch 67 films in the next 53 days. Yeah.
Good luck.
So anyway, that's beside the point. Good luck to us all. My number 4 of Unlikable Protagonists is this film, and this is sort of like the traditional anti-hero. This is Treasure of the Sierra Madre. And I'm gonna let me know when you have a photo up because I'm gonna turn away from
anyone in particular, or you want to just go with whatever?
I mean, I wouldn't mind Stinking Badges.
Okay.
Or Dobbs. Let's go with Dobbs.
Jeez,
Is it too late?
Well, it's fine. Hang on.
Okay.
Keep talking. Keep talking.
Dobbs, as played by Humphrey Bogart, Fred C. Dobbs, is as unlikable as they come. I mean, he's unlikable from the start, simultaneously greedy and distrustful. One might think an audience would be sympathetic towards him once that distrust turns to paranoid mania, but not the way that Bogart plays the role. It's actually one of the more complex characters that complex character studies, I should say, in Bogart's career. And a bold choice for a movie star of his stature to play someone that unlikable in 1948. And I think only out of all the movie stars of the time, only Bogart could get away with stretching his persona to that limit, personally. One could argue that Tim Holt's character might actually be the protagonist of that film, but he doesn't have the A, star power, B, screen time, C, screen presence, or C or D, really the arc of Dobbs to make that worthwhile. It's just that it's a reverse arc for Dobbs almost than the kind of character journey that we're used to that highlights human greed to the very core. Have you guys seen Treasure Sierra Madre?
No.
I have not.
Okay, so hopefully our audience has seen that, and so that one.
We're all familiar with the famous line here.
Yes, we don't need no stinking badges.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
This is the genesis of that line. Yeah.
What's that?
This is the genesis of that line.
That is the genesis of that movie. The line comes from that movie. Yes. You guys ready for number 3? Since nobody's got anything to say about Treasure Sierra Madre.
Yeah, well, it looks like a good movie.
What's that?
It looks like a good movie.
It looks like a good movie. Great. It did win Best Supporting Actor for Walter Huston and Best Director for John Huston, who are father and son. So John Huston, the son, directed his father and to an Oscar. He also directed his daughter to an Oscar in 1985 when he directed Angelica Houston to her Oscar and Prizzi's Honor. Tidbits. There you go. Love it. Ready for number 3, gentlemen?
Please.
Please put me out of my misery. Is that what you mean by that?
No, I'm ready to go. I've got the list right here in front of me.
Okay. Number 3 is HUD, starring Paul Newman. And if there's any doubt about him being an unlikable protagonist, the actual tagline for the film is "The Man with the Barbed Wire Soul," and that's Paul Newman as HUD. This is the movie where America realizes that Paul Newman was more than just a pretty face. Like this is a true 3-dimensional character that he's putting together, and a very unlikable guy. And you want to like him because he's so good looking and he's charming, I guess, in a way, but not. No, actually, he's not charming. He's just like the kid. The Brandon Wong character looks up to him. He's got good looks, some money, land, but also narcissism, rage, and a self-destructive streak. As much as HUD tries to explain his point of view, we never really feel sorry for him or sympathize with him. His arguments are mostly hollow, and his behavior sort of negates that anyway. I think it's a beautiful, compelling film directed by Martin Ritt from a book written, or a novella maybe, written by one of my favorite authors, Larry McMurtry, who would also write Terms of Endearment. Last Picture Show is a book that he wrote. We've also talked about that film. This picture's Oscar winner, Melvyn Douglas. It actually has 2 Oscar-winning performances. Melvyn Douglas here, and then Patricia Neal would also win an Oscar. So won Best Actress and Best Supporting Actor in 1960. Oh shoot, 63, I believe it was. And the performances all around Newman are also terrific, except they're all likable characters, including Brandon DeWilde, who in one of his last roles before his death at age 30. The film spends much of the time trying to understand HUD, or change him, perhaps. It never seems to be able to make it happen. And in that sense, it's a very fascinating and unique Hollywood movie in that regard. Gentlemen, have you seen HUD?
No.
Davey Joe. Jay Money.
Oh.
You guys are interchangeable anyway.
Really?
HUD?
No, I haven't seen HUD.
Does it look like a good movie?
Did they remake it recently?
No.
No? Am I thinking of something else that seems very familiar?
I don't know.
Probably.
I don't think so.
What's that?
I don't think
Probably.
so.
Yeah.
All right, so no HUD for these guys.
Some really important insight there. Yes.
What's that important insight?
Davey Joe had an important insight. What's your next one?
Davey has an important insight? What is your important insight, Davey?
Yes.
I was just saying he must be thinking of some other movie, right? I mean,
yes. That was the important
Oh,
insight.
that's lovely. I hope well, maybe you guys have seen number 2. First of all, because I mean, I really think you guys would enjoy movies with unlikable protagonists like these. You haven't seen any of them so far, but I mean, I think, I mean, you guys tend to gravitate towards like darker, edgier stuff, and for Hollywood movies, this tends to be that stuff. Number 2. This is The Sweet Smell of Success from 1957, and this is a top 100 movie, although towards the bottom, like in the 90s, I would say. And this movie is known for its it looks at the dark underbelly of the New York media scene at the time. In that sense, it's sort of a younger cousin of Citizen Kane. It has 2 vile protagonists: Burt Lancaster's stand-in for Walter Winchell, J.J. Hunsaker's that character's name, and Tony Curtis as press agent Sidney Falco, who go toe-to-toe. Okay, so I'm behind here. It's known for having some of the wittiest, meanest, most clever dialogue ever in a movie script. Yeah, some of my favorite lines, and it's in context, so you have to get it, you have to really feel it, but some of the famous lines from it is when he says, you're a cookie full of arsenic, I'd like to take a bite out of you. Or when he doesn't believe some news he hears, he says, that's fish 4 days old, I'm not buying it. The problem with the movie is that everybody talks like that, in that sort of stylized hipster way, but it's really sounds great to the ear. It's written by Clifford Odets and Ernest Lehman. Ernest Lehman, one of the screenwriters of, or the screenwriter of North by Northwest. So Hunsaker and Falco are out for blood and power and control, and they don't care who they hurt in the process. All that matters is the win. So if you want to see this movie, you got to check your soul at the door, because that's what these characters do to do what they need in order to succeed. It's a riveting portrait of ambition and power in the 1950s, which we often remember through rose-colored glasses. The 50s. It has a sort of like idyllic feel to it, historically speaking, and in a sort of general view. But that's not what this movie portrays. So it was also turned into a Broadway musical about 10 years ago. Alexander McKendrick's Sweet Smell of Success. Guys, anything? Seen it?
No, unfortunately. I thought it was always a musical. I didn't realize it was actually not a musical, just in general.
It was not a musical.
Well, that makes it more intriguing to me.
Likewise.
I knew it makes it more intriguing to you, Davie Joe. That's for damn sure. All right, we press on with the number 1.
Pick something we've seen.
I doubt it, but it's one of the it's top 50 all time. It is one of the darkest movies I've ever seen, and one of from a director that's not necessarily known for, or we don't think of as dark stuff, and a director that we've talked about at least once, and we're going to talk about again. This is Ace in the Hole as my number 1 unlikable protagonist of all time. And let me tell you a little bit about Ace in the Hole. It's directed by Billy Wilder, who we talked about with Fortune Cookie, and we might have another one of his films coming up. And it's a dark masterpiece. Kirk Douglas plays the reporter Chuck Tatum here. He's a former big city reporter who falls out of favor and had to take up residence on a small Albuquerque paper. He stumbles across a man trapped in a cave and then subtly conspires to keep the man in the cave while he builds up the story into a national news event. Is that crazy or what? But
Yeah,
it says, what's that?
That's good. That's a good premise.
I like it.
Putting it lightly. I mean, it's once again painting the media in a very dark light. So, I mean, that Sweet Smell of Success, that Citizen Kane, like that keeps coming up, this concept of media and the role of media in our society. This film is vicious. It's cynical. It's harrowing, and sadly, sometimes very funny. It's a satire of media and our own interest in Schadenfreude that will I feel dirty inside after seeing it, but it's fascinating. And it's hard to call it Billy Wilder's best movie because of another movie that we're going to talk about in 2017. But certainly, it is his most surprising movie in how dark it is. Like Double Indemnity is dark, but this movie is like really dark, a lot darker than a lot of things you might see today. So anyway, that is Ace in the Hole, and it sounds like you guys haven't seen this one either.
No, sorry.
I have not, but you've sold me on it, so I will investigate.
Will you, though? I mean, like, will you really? Because I don't think you will.
In all your spare time, when you're not watching movies that you need to watch.
Right.
Well, I mean, maybe in March. But, I mean, Ashley, you might want to hold off on all these movies because all these movies are in brackets. So,
all right.
You had a couple of options here that we could have talked about at length, but you decided not to go in that direction. I'm putting the blame on you in this situation.
Oh.
What are you saying about?
I'm saying that you had a couple of options in your list here that we definitely could have discussed at length, but instead you went in a different direction.
Am I blaming? I didn't blame anybody for anything.
No, I'm blaming you. That's the difference. I guess I'm saying we want discussion. I mean, hey, there were a couple things here that I was ready to go about, but nope, it didn't work out.
Well, I mean, do you see why I didn't choose some of those movies?
I guess.
I mean, I feel like those other movies, like I root for the protagonist in spite, even though I knew they're doing bad things, and I think it was an important distinction.
Well, I still think that the first option was the way to go, but that's okay. It's fine.
Oh, you do? Oh, well, you didn't seem to feel strongly about it, so I went with my gut.
Oh, no.
For what it's worth, I talked with some other people about this too.
All right, well, whatever.
Like before the show. So I apologize. I let you down. I mean, we're right on time for Davey's for the tweet beat thing, but if you want to, like, honestly, if you want to take 5 minutes and go through the other top 5, I can do that.
No, that's okay. Let's move on. We'll save those for another day because I'm sure that some of this stuff is going to come up. I mean, obviously, some of it is very specifically going to come up in the next year. But
well, I mean, let me put it this way: I had Citizen Kane. What I didn't tell you is I had Citizen Kane on that list.
That's interesting. I could talk at length about Amadeus because that's a movie that's big in my childhood. But I think that we can save that for another time. Yeah,
no, it's a top. I mean, like that's a top 15 movie for me all time. I mean, like, but again, like I feel like I root for him in spite of everything. I mean, it's fascinating, but I mean, like these characters in this top 5 are so dark. You know what I mean? Like it's a whole different level, and I felt like it was worthwhile to make the distinction. And maybe there's a part of me that knows that these movies were going to be a little more obscure and off the beaten path and worthwhile their own, like moment in the sun, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, The Sweet Smell of Success, which is hard for me to say right now, is a movie I've been meaning to see for a while. Ace in the Hole, movie I've never heard about before, sounds actually really good. So these are both things I really want to.
I mean, Ace in the Hole, you're going to cream your pants at Ace in the Hole. Like, it's that good.
That's all I ever ask from you. I only ever ask for recommendations, but that's going to happen. So, I guess you win.
Look, I didn't curse. I don't know. Davey's making faces here, and so anyway. All right. So what's next? Let's see.
Is it Tweet Beat?
No. What's that?
Tweet Beat.
Tweet Beat is next. Sorry. Yes. Those who've been following us on. I do have a comment on what did I? Oh, I wrote it down. It just happened. Somebody had a comment about J Money on Twitter.
Nice.
Oh, they had a question for J Money, and I forgot it. What was your question for J Money? I didn't write it down because I just thought I'll just remember to say that. Damn it! I lost it. Somebody had a question for J Money. I don't remember.
Well, if you had a question for J Money, you better resend it.
Yeah. Well, it'll come. I can look for it later. Tweetbeat. If you guys have been following us on Twitter, then you might know that Davie, Joe, and I have been battling, recently. And the very specific subject is Moviepass. We've been discussing Moviepass, and we have a debate that we're going to open up here on the subject because, Davie Joe is a card-carrying member. He's very pro. And I've looked into it, and I feel very anti. And I tweeted Moviepass to let them know this is happening, because you included them in our tweets in our battle for some reason.
I didn't realize you were gonna disparage them. You could have taken them off before you said that.
Oh no, that's the fun part. What are you talking about? This is how we get sponsors.
It was not. It's how we never get a sponsor ever.
So make your case for Moviepass.
No, you start. You tell me why.
That doesn't mean why do I have to start?
Because it's yours. This isn't my segment. This is your one. I have a sound off, or what do you call that thing? Diatribe.
Diatribe? Listen. It was the diatribe, but I turned it into a sound off because we started talking about it on Twitter.
Yeah, tweet beat. So
Tweet beat. So it's our segment because we're going to debate, but you're I just did a lot of talking. So
all right. That's fair. That's fair. Okay, so I mean, look at it's for $45 a month. I am able to see a movie once a day if I want. And I've saved a ton of money. And I've seen, I don't know, 90-something films in the theater. Well, I saw 90-something films in the theater last year. So that's for $45 a month, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, sure. And it costs per movie, but $45 a month times 12 months is how much? How much do you pay per year?
Let me.
Because I can tell you that I paid, regular pricing. I spent a total of $620 this year to see 70 movies in the theater.
Well, Davey definitely spent less than that.
Yeah, $540.
$540?
Yeah.
To see 90 movies. Okay. So now here's the downside. So yes, you're saving in theory, $100 or more.
Well, way more. I mean, guys, I saw a lot more movies too.
But here's the problem. One, you have to be present at the theater. So 70% of movie theaters now have assigned seating, and therefore, and they open the ticketing to online customers on the Wednesday before it opens. Therefore, or the Wednesday before the weekend, I should say.
Yeah.
Therefore, you're at a huge disadvantage in terms of seating, and that burns you already once.
When?
When you were trying to meet us for a movie.
Oh, sure.
You were trying to meet us for a movie, and you couldn't get there in time because you couldn't buy tickets ahead of time. And so not only is it you in danger of getting a bad seat, you're in danger of selling out altogether. And the more movie theaters, I mean, New York didn't used to have assigned seating, but now all AMCs in New York have assigned seating. Regal still doesn't, but at the same time, now the more theaters are going to switch over to that. That's everybody's going to do that, and that's going to make Moviepass more of a burden than anything else. And speaking of, by the way, you spent $540, but you didn't see all 9 of your movies on Moviepass. I know that for a fact.
No, I'm talking 90 on Moviepass though.
You saw 90 on Moviepass for sure.
Well, I mean, I can count them up real quick. I think it's
the other issue is $45 a month, but you cannot cancel for the first year. And isn't that right?
You can now. That used to be the rule, but you can now.
No, I don't. That's not true. I tried it. I could not cancel.
They got rid of the last I checked. I think they got rid of the trial, and they made it so you can cancel anytime.
We just talked about this in November. Did this change in the last month?
It's pretty recent.
Are you 100% sure about this? J Money, maybe you want to look it up because I just went through I just went through this.
Wait, what am I looking up? I have not been paying attention whatsoever.
When I signed up for Moviepass or started to sign up for Moviepass, it said that I had to pay the full year and I could not cancel for the full year. So I had to pay the $540 up front. And then after the first year, I could do that. But the problem with that is, for me and for many people in cities and certainly in our industry, it's not consecutive. Like when I get work on a movie, I'm going to be gone for 6 weeks at a time. I don't see any movies. Out of the 70 movies that I saw in 2017, I saw 40 of them in January and December. 40 of the 70. So that's 30 of those movies in those other 10 months. So in that sense, Moviepass, again, especially with this requirement, Moviepass only works for me if I can do it like 1 month on, 1 month off. And that doesn't seem like an option, at least for the first year.
So I saw 80.
Furthermore, the other argument against is there's a lot of theaters, especially in LA, that don't take it. Now, in smaller cities across the nation and suburban areas, it seems like that's not as much of an issue. But I can tell you the ArcLight does not accept it, and a lot of the more used theaters in Los Angeles.
Okay, so let me.
Wait, let me just jump in here quickly from an objective point of view. It is true that there are fees that are incurred if you do decide to cancel it between your annual sort of fee membership area. But I would say, JB, on the other hand, you're not really indicative of a normal usage, so I don't know if that's really a count against Moviepass.
Well, I mean, it's why it. I mean, like, okay,
it's why you might personally not be interested in using it.
It's good for the general populace, but not for me.
Yeah, that's certainly true. But I mean, that doesn't mean that Moviepass is bad. That just means that it doesn't work for you.
That's possible, but I mean, like, I also think that seating issue. I mean, like, I also think that the need, and I don't understand the need for this structurally, like the need to be in the theater. Like,
yeah,
why is that
anytime.
part of it? What's that?
Yeah, you can cancel anytime, it says.
Yeah, but then you have to pay different fees if you cancel between certain trials.
It's. I think that they got rid of that, though. I think that now
he's looking at the website right now.
Site right now, and that's not true, but that's okay.
I mean, I'm looking at it too.
Well, you're looking at it wrong. So, Davey Joe, I mean, like, I don't understand why you need to be in the theater. Like, why can't it just be like a number and you put in the number, and like, why can't it be online like everything else?
Because it's not supposed to be transferable.
I mean, Moviepass is also a company, and they have to make money somehow. I think that they're doing a favor for people, and people are willing to buy into the system. And
now,
if this
Jim, are you arguing with me just to be on the other side of me, or do you actually are you interested in Moviepass?
No, I have no dog in this hunt. I guess what I feel like is that I understand what you're saying, JP, that it wouldn't make sense for you personally, but I don't know if that means that Moviepass in general is a bad idea.
Well, I mean, like, the latter 2 points are make it bad for me, sure. But the first point about the reserved seating issue and the being a handicap for that, I think, is a very valid point.
I think,
especially for avid moviegoers who probably are going to be pretty, like me in the sense, pretty specific about where they want to sit.
All right, so let me kind of go through this one by one. First of all, I saw 89 with Moviepass this year. First of all, let's talk about New York City. New York City, I've gone to Metrograph with it. I've gone to the Angelica. I know that what's the
and
theater?
Where have you sat during these screenings? Like, where's your seats been?
Well, I mean, the only one of those that has assigned seating is I think Metrograph. And I sat, I don't know, it was a decent seat. It was in towards the back, I guess, but it was in the middle. What else? I think that if you're going to see opening weekend a wide release film, yeah,
which we have to do quite frequently for our show.
Sure, but I mean, I usually just get up Saturday morning and have no problem. It's
Did you say I get up Saturday morning and sober up? Is that what you said?
It's not hard. I don't have.
Gentlemen, I want to point out the way he glossed over that and ignored me. I'm not going to just let it go.
I've seen, like I said, I mean, look at for a huge movie like Star Wars or something like that. I bite the bullet and just buy a ticket. And then I see something else that day with Moviepass. But I don't have any trouble at all finding theaters. I don't have any trouble at all getting a decent seat. And it's very rare that, except for the movies that we watch for the show, that I need to see the wide release movie that weekend. And other than that, it's never a problem, the assigned seating. I just go to the theater and pick the seat at the theater. Would I rather be able to do it, ahead of time? Sure. But I see why they don't let you do that. Because they need to make sure that the one part, right. So, I mean, it makes a certain amount of sense. Also, I mean, you could go to the theater if, it's a complete pain, but you could go to the theater and buy the ticket ahead of time and pick the seat. So.
Yeah, that's particularly a pain in Los Angeles where you drive everywhere.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's saved me a tremendous amount of money, and it lets me, on a whim, just walk out the door and not have to spend any money, any extra money, to see a movie.
And now, are you billed monthly or you billed yearly?
Monthly.
monthly. Okay, but when you first signed up, you were billed one annual fee.
No, but when I signed up, I know for a fact that it wasn't cancel anytime. You were locked in for a year, but they would still bill it monthly. But now they have cancel anytime. I don't know if maybe it's by where you live or something, because I just looked again and it's cancel anytime.
So you're saying their website is sort of geo-targeted?
Well, it definitely is, because I think that the price can vary. I don't know, like it's 45 because I live in Charlotte. It may be 55 or something.
It's 55 for us.
It may be.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
Like,
but
there's so many. Like, I was excited about it. I mean, you weren't the first person to tell me about it, and I looked into it, and I had some reluctance, and then you were so effusive about it, so I looked into it again, and then like every time I got to a new step, I'm like, oh my god, that's another. There's so many black marks against it, at least in terms of my personal experience. I mean, you know, Jay Money will tell you, I'm very particular about where I sit in a movie theater. I think it's an important part of the experience.
Yeah. No, this. I can confirm this. This is an important thing about JB.
like I said though, as long as as far as I've my experience, as long as it's not opening weekend for a huge movie like Captain America.
I'm a big believer in seeing things opening weekend if I can, because I mean, like it's important, I think, to see things with as little as a preform complex as possible. Because I mean, like I think the later you see things, the more the conventional wisdom seeps into what what you think about it. I mean, like, and some of my favorite experiences are going into movies where I know nothing about them. Very little about them. I
do that too, but it's usually with smaller films where I don't know a thing about it. And that's the other thing is right down the road here, there's a Regal that doesn't have assigned seating, and it's all like little indie films.
Regal's showing indie films?
Yeah, because they have the Regal's got a bunch.
How little are we talking?
I mean, let me see what's there right now.
Let's.
I know Lion is there right now.
I mean, Lion's Weinstein Company. I mean, like, there's little and there's little. I mean, like, that's like.
I saw The Witness there.
Okay, that's fairly small.
Harrison Ford.
Oh. Anyway.
All right.
So that's
all right. So I mean, it looks like Moviepass is good for everybody but me, and potentially other city-dwelling people like me.
But I think in New York City, it's pretty solid, man.
You know, people that have.
You think Moviepass would want to have a stronger hold in Los Angeles?
I mean, I've never been to Los Angeles, but I use it in New York all the time.
LA does not count. New York possibly does not count, but also lifestyle decisions here.
Certainly, in terms of elections, they don't count. Go ahead, JB.
You are. We can all say that. Well, look, JB, you are definitely outside the mainstream, right? We can say that.
Well, you're bi-coastal.
No, but just in terms of lifestyle decisions, you are outside the mainstream.
All right. Easy.
So am I, though. I mean, like, I've used this thing in Charlotte, New York, Vegas, Detroit. So
right.
it's
Let's move on to some announcements. We don't have a title slide. Am I okay moving on?
Yeah. That's good.
That was our tweet beat battle. I think you might have won.
Yeah.
You're reluctant about it, but I think you kind of won.
Yeah, there are no winners in this war.
I'm still not able to do it. I would like, if Moviepass, if you are watching though, I mean, like, if you can make this work for me in some way, shape, or form, I would like to talk to you.
I'm so confident they are not watching.
Okay. Especially because I said Moviepass sucks right to their.
Right to them. Yep. I was thinking maybe someday we could get them to sponsor us, and maybe
I know you were thinking that, and
just for a free Moviepass. Nope.
Yeah. Well, I can't hold. I got to be true to me. Anyway, so I think a segment I want to create, and J Money, we can talk about if we want to do a title slide for this, is something like what's going on in the film world right now. Not just the film industry, but film exhibition world. Like what's going on in theater near you per se. We got to come up with a name for it. I like what you're doing with your fingers there.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not the first time I've said that to him.
Ooh. We just put New Year's Eve together, so take that for what you will, people.
Anyway, so there's some fun things going on. We go to Film Forum a lot, and so I think I'm going to go tomorrow night. J Money, you're welcome to join me. And we went to see our film New Year's Eve film the other day. Did you see the trailer for the Pagnol trilogy? Remember that?
Yeah, that was pretty good, actually.
So I think I'm going to go see the first of that, Marius, tomorrow night. The 8 o'clock screening at Film Forum. Marcel Pagnol is a French playwright of the 20s and 30s, and he sort of segued from playwriting to screenwriting and then eventually film directing. And he has this trilogy that's sort of his most famous work. It's Marius, Fanny, and César are the names of characters, and they're sort of like all the worlds cross-connect. And so Film Forum is playing that trilogy over the next week, starting tomorrow. And I think I'm going to go see Marius tomorrow. So you're welcome to join me. And Davey, if you want to fly up for that.
Cool.
So yeah, and I'm a Film Forum member now, so that's kind of exciting. So that's one thing going on around town. That's tomorrow, January 4th. January 6th, we're over at J Money's again. We're back in your apartment for another CMS.
Yeah, I'm gonna have all the cookies, any drink you want, rat poison every corner.
Very cool. Davey Joe, you want to fly in for that?
When is it?
This Friday.
6th.
It's a tall order, isn't it?
But you did have fun at the one screening you went to, didn't you? Have fun?
Not impossible, but probably not.
Did you have fun the one time you came to a screening?
That was a good time. It was a good time.
And the film that we talked about at the one screening Davey attended is our next classic. That's a little hint there, although I don't know how you would know what that is.
Well, I already tweeted what it was, so no.
Did you really?
No, I didn't.
Okay. January 7th and 8th is the NFL playoff start, Wild Card Weekend, and that's mainly for Davey Joe and our other sports fans out there. Davey Joe, you excited about the playoffs?
No, I'm scared. The Dallas, the Giants, and the Patriots. If any of them win, it's just going to be gross.
Do you don't think the Seahawks and the Chiefs have a chance?
The Seahawks have a chance. And the Packers have a chance. No team coached by Andy Reid will ever win the Super Bowl. I'm convinced of it. I'll cheer for them.
Will it hurt you? Because Davey and I are Eagles fans, and Andy Reid used to coach the Eagles. I'm just going to show Jay Money looking bored while we talk about this.
You guys talking about what kind of sport now? Sports ball? I love it.
Davey, and Andy Reid now coaches the Chiefs. Will it hurt you if Andy Reid wins the Super Bowl with the Chiefs? Will you be upset?
You know what? The guy's been through so much. I'd be happy for him.
Davey Joe has a heart, ladies and gentlemen. You saw it right here. He actually has, compassion. I haven't seen it before, but now it's there. Now that you have compassion, should I remind you that you owe me $45?
Yeah, you should. I keep forgetting.
Anyway, now the big event coming up this week is Sunday, Sunday the 8th. And maybe you should. This is Davey Joe. You should fly up for this. It is the biggest event of the year in New York, anyway, for me that I host. The Golden Globe Party. New York gets the Golden Globes. LA gets the Oscars. The Golden Globe Party is Sunday the 8th. We're going to watch the Golden Globes. I got trivia. I've got prizes. That's happening at Desmond's Tavern in New York City in Manhattan. And Jay Money will be present.
That's true. And everyone's invited. All of New York, or anyone that comes to visit New York, is definitely invited to come.
Yeah, we've got a lot of tourists here. They might as well stay for the Golden Globe Party.
They might as well.
Yeah. Are you excited, Davey Joe, about that?
I don't have the get up for it, man.
I will say this: it is a white tie event, so you have to bring your.
Yeah, it's very formal, and Jay Money and I will vlog from the party to you.
I'm looking forward to that. I'll tell you.
It's an evil laugh. I don't understand.
Yes. Well, pure evil. Yeah.
All right, so most of you that are watching right now, you've tuned in for one thing, and that is every January, the first show of January every year. Every year is only our second year, but every year at this time, I announce the lineup for my annual Oscar movie marathon. The first Oscar movie marathon was in 1998. 1998, and actually, strangely enough, the very first film we watched at the Oscar movie marathon was Treasure of the Sierra Madre, which was celebrating its 50-year anniversary in 1998. Bringing it back to the top 5 that we just did. So anyway, it is now time for me to announce the lineup for this year's Oscar movie marathon, which, we might, some of the screenings are by my house. We might also talk to a theater out in Los Angeles that has tweeted me about possibly having screenings there. So, and this is going to be on Saturday, February 25th, the day before the Oscars. That's the day we do it. 5 movies, 1 day, all Oscar nominees or winners in some cases. And we're going to go in reverse chronological order. We're going to do it from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 25 years ago, 50 years ago, and 75 years ago. That's what's happening. So we're going to start at 7 a.m. Pacific time with our screening from a film from 5 years ago. And the fun part about this film, and J Money, you got photos for this.
Okay.
You ready?
Sure.
The first film is a movie that J Money and I saw together, actually, celebrating my 100th movie with one of our mutual friends. Our movie from 2011, our 7 a.m. movie is David Fincher's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which was a Myriad Arts Award winner, surprise Myriad Arts Award winner for Best Picture, beating The Artist, which was expected to win. It also won Best Director for David Fincher, and it was so there you can see. Oh, you didn't convert these photos.
I did. Well, that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Darn.
Anyway, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and also Rooney Mara got a Best Actress Oscar nomination for her role in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. So that's our 7 a.m. screening. 10 a.m. is the next screening, and that is our 2006 film. And this was an Oscar winner for Best Supporting Actor in 2006. And it also won Best Supporting Actor for the Myriad Arts Awards, the awards that I give out, or my company, except it was different actors that won. Little Miss Sunshine is the 10 a.m. movie, for the Oscar movie marathon. And the Oscars gave Alan Arkin the Oscar. We gave the award to Paul Dano for Best Supporting Actor, strangely enough. And that is our 10 a.m. movie at the Oscar marathon, again, February 25th. Moving on to 25 years ago, a movie from 1991. This was a nominee of 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress, but very famously not Best Director. And that is Prince of Tides is our movie from 1991. And that's our 1 p.m. screening. I think I forgot to say the time. 1 p.m. screening, Prince of Tides, starring Nick Nolte, and of course directed by Barbra Streisand. And that's Blythe Danner in here with this with him in this film. That's our 1 p.m. screening on February 25th. Now moving on to our 4 p.m. screening, which is the 50-year anniversary of a movie. And of course, this movie is important because it is also will be a part of our 1966 in review that we're doing on February 23rd. And so this will be a film that's not the film, J Money. This will be a film that plays heavily in our discussion because it was nominated for a bunch of Academy Awards, including winning Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress in 1966. So we're going to talk about this movie on February 23rd, and then I'll screen it on February 25th. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is our movie from 1966 that we're going to talk about. Of course, Elizabeth Taylor was the winner for Best Actress, one of her movies with Richard Burton. That's George Segal in that picture that we just had. And Sandy Dennis also would win Best Supporting Actress for that. And that's our movie from 50 years ago, and that's our 4 p.m. screening. And then our final screening evening is an 8 p.m. screening on Saturday, February 25th, and it's a movie from 75 years ago, which is 1941, so the same year as in Citizen Kane. We're not going to screen Citizen Kane. Instead, we're going to screen the Best Actor winner from that year, which was his first of 2 Oscars. Gary Cooper would win Best Actor for Sergeant York. Interestingly, sort of a grandfather to this year's Hacksaw Ridge, in the sense that he was a pacifist that would go to participate in World War I in that case. So that's Gary Cooper and Sergeant York, and that is our 8 p.m. screening and our all-day Oscar movie marathon that takes place on Saturday, February 25th. Davey, how's that lineup?
So it's pretty solid. Pretty solid lineup. Cool. Well, sounds like it's gonna be a lot of fun. Maybe I'll watch along with you guys.
That was the strangest sentence. J Money, any comments about the lineup?
It's a solid lineup. You guys will have a fun day. I'm sure it'll be a great festivity overall.
Well, there might be some vlogs involved. Who knows?
I hope so, because we need those. We need those to keep the
desperately
the
need the
process
vlogs.
going. Yeah.
So now it's time. We got a new title slide coming up to close out our evening.
Okay.
I believe it's time for Davey's big segment. We call it.
Hang on.
We call it.
There you go.
The roll call. It's time for the roll call, ladies and gentlemen. All right. In this roll call is when Davey goes through, and it's you guys, the viewers, that asked us to do this. Basically, a summary of all the films that we talked about over the course of the evening. Very quick rundown, and so you guys get your pens and pads, and you can write down various movies or type in your phones and make lists of things that you might want to check out for yourself. Davey Joe, take it away.
Okay. All right. So the first segment was about Rogue One, and we touched on Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars: A New Hope, and Star Wars: Force Awakens. Those are really the only ones that we talked about. Of course, people are aware of the fact that there are other Star Wars movies. There are actually five total. All right, and moving on. The next segment was about young adult. So we talked about Juno, because Juno was also written by Diablo Cody. Talked about Monster. And directed by Jason Reitman. Very good. Also Monster, because that was Charlize Theron. She won the Oscar for that, or just
2003.
Okay. And
she was also nominated in 2005 for North Country. Tidbit.
Cool. And you guys both thought that she was actually better in young adult.
Do you disagree with that?
I have not seen Monster. So the next segment was Citizen Kane.
That's all we had during young adult?
That's all I wrote down. Next segment.
Somebody's just making faces. I don't know what to make of him. All right, go ahead. Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane. And it went up against Red Balloon, which it beat. It also went up against Apocalypse Now, which it beat. And then we talked about how there's sort of a debate in the Sight and Sound poll. Vertigo has actually surpassed Citizen Kane, and I remarked about how that is incorrect. But J Money actually went for Vertigo in that discussion. It's close.
Don't forget, I also went through the list of previous number ones in the Sight and Sound poll, and so Bicycle Thieves is one of those.
Bicycle Thieves, right? That's Italian, right? That's neo-realist.
It is realist. Look at Davey Joe busting out the neo-realist term.
Yeah, you know what it is? I saw that Scorsese documentary.
Okay. I just out of curiosity, how would you define neo-realism? Italian neo-realism.
How would I define it?
Yeah.
All the movies. All the movies.
Define it, please.
All the movies that he mentioned in that movie, in that documentary, are. So
I mean, like, you're a big fan of Umberto D, then?
Yes, Umberto D is I think the most depressing thing I've ever seen in my life. Right? I mean,
look at you, you've seen Umberto D. Good job.
Yeah, with the dog, and oh my god. Anyway, like, I can't even recommend it, even though it's an incredible film, because it will make you want to kill yourself.
He's not wrong.
All right, so then your top five was what was like the main characters that are kind of hateable.
Unlikable protagonists.
Unlikable, yeah, there you go. Unlikable protagonists. So number 5 was Hawaii. Number 4 was Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Number 3 was HUD. In that HUD conversation, you mentioned Terms of Endearment and Last Picture Show. I believe that they were both same writer, right? Sweet Smell of Success was number 2, written by the same person who wrote North by Northwest. Number 1 was Billy Wilder movie, Ace in the Hole, and we briefly mentioned Fortune Cookie.
I do want to point out that Ace in the Hole at one point, because it did badly in the box office, it was re-released as The Big Circus. It has an alternate title.
Okay.
So I throw that there.
Okay. So we mentioned Fortune Cookie and Double Indemnity. And then do you want me to go through the Oscar movie marathon films again?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Okay. What is it? 7 a.m. It's going to be Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. 10 a.m. Little Miss Sunshine. 1 p.m. I believe. Prince of Tides. 4. Is it 4 then?
4.
Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? And then at 7 o'clock, Sergeant York.
8 o'clock was Sergeant York.
8 o'clock. Sorry.
And the other thing is, don't forget, we also talked about the Paniol trilogy, Marius, Fanny, and Cesar, which is playing in film forum this week. Right?
Cool. Yeah, I may have dozed off there for a second.
It's possible. It's possible. And I just want to point out how bright J Money is right now. He's got some Christmas lights on his neck.
Oh wow!
Let's stay optimistic about the future here.
This is your 2017 is looking pretty bright, J Money.
Future so blight, right? Huh?
Yeah, I gotta wear a hat. Anyway, so all right, guys, that's pretty. How do you guys feel like tonight went? Overall feeling? You guys feeling good? JB looked bored. Davey?
Oh, Davey. I was just thinking, why would he ask himself a question? No, I'm not bored. You kidding me?
Do you feel good about the evening?
I do. Think it went real well.
J Money.
Yeah, I feel good about the evening. Davey J, was it too bright?
No, it was right on. It was.
I forgot to tell you, Davey Joe. No, this is important. We're running out of time, but I went to Film Forum this week. Did you see the vlog?
Sure.
I went back. J Money knows this. I went on December 26th. I took a small group and we went to see The Lion in Winter at Film Forum.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I think there's something about the DVD transfer because this movie was much darker.
Yes, that's awesome. I want to. I really want to go see it now.
That's all that matters.
So yeah, it was. I don't know how you're gonna feel about it, but I was looking at those scenes that you brought up, and I'm like, it's definitely dark. It's definitely a dark castle right now.
That's awesome.
So I think it was just projected. It was a restoration. It was a 4K restoration, so that might be part of it as well. But yeah, I think it was significantly darker on the big screen.
Okay.
So J Money refused to go with me.
That's right.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's our show for the evening, everybody. We got 1 minute left, so we pretty much were almost on time for the whole evening. We were a little bit late with this show. It's now 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific. It's been great. We're gonna next time our current features Live by Night, and then maybe we'll have an indie spotlight, and we're definitely gonna have a classic that the three of us watch together in November. And that's coming up on Monday, January 16th, also known as Martin Luther King Day. The whole evening starts at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. So mark your calendars, and hopefully you can join us for then. In the meantime, tweet us, check out our vlogs, email us on Facebook. We answer questions. We all do all sorts of Twitter fun. Supposedly we're supposed to go on Insta chat or something. Does anybody know anything about that?
Instagram?
I don't know.
I've heard of it.
No, J Money doesn't know it. In the meantime, I'm going to see J Money a lot this week. I'm going to see him tomorrow for Marius and on Friday at his house. So we'll vlog from those locations. In the meantime, good night to you all. This 37th meeting of the No Name Cinema Society is adjourned.